Hi, folks. As we take to the air, we have some breaking news regarding Russia and Ukraine. Some of it is seemingly positive, and some of it is extremely troubling. Let's start with the seemingly positive side of the news. Russia and Ukraine have apparently struck a deal today to end the unrest in eastern Ukraine. And this, according to Secretary of State John Kerry. There's the militants who are the Russian-backed militants have to refrain from violence, lay down their illegal weapons, return seized buildings to their rightful owners, according to Kerry. In return, Ukraine agrees to offer amnesty to protesters who had not committed capital crimes. Now, does this end the problem? Does this mean that Vladimir Putin is not going to, look for further gains in Ukraine? Not necessarily at all, but it is some kind of step. At least that's what it's being hailed as by John Kerry. Now, we also have a very troubling report which Kerry addressed and has been confirmed by the U.S. ambassador, reportedly, by CNN. Jews in the eastern Ukraine city of Donetsk, I'm probably mispronouncing it, where pro-Russian militants have taken over government buildings, were told to register Jews, having to register as Jews with the Ukrainians who are trying to make the city become part of Russia. Now, this was first reported by Israeli media. John Kerry has addressed it, and CNN has said that they have confirmed it with the ambassador, U.S. ambassador. So this is very, very, very troubling news, and we'll keep you abreast of both of these stories out of Ukraine. Give me a thumbs up, gentlemen, when we get Mr. Rodgers, and we are going to be joined by Bill Rodgers, the great, great marathon runner, Bill Rodgers. And you know, it was a little over a year ago. April 15th was a year ago that we had the bombing, the horrific bombing at the Boston Marathon, and we were fortunate enough to find Bill Rodgers at the time. He had been on with us a couple of weeks earlier talking about his new biography, Marathon Man. And the exact title of that is My 26.2-Mile Journey from Unknown Grad Student to the Top of the Running World. And if you haven't read that book, you should absolutely find it and read it and check it out, because it is an amazing story. And we're talking about a 4-time Boston Marathon champion. So he was the first person I thought of when the bombing hit. And we were just going on the air when the first reports started coming over across the wire of the explosion, which we didn't know at the time exactly what the explosion was. But subsequently, of course, we found out what it was. And it turned out that one of Bill Rodgers' children, daughter, I believe, was supposed to be at the finish line and moved away. We also had Lise Wheel on, Fox News legal analyst Lise Wheel, whose son, she couldn't find. He was supposed to be at the finish line. He was safe. Bill Rodgers' daughter turned out to be safe, and we're joined right now by Bill Rodgers. And as I mentioned, the book is Marathon Man. Check it out. Hello, Bill. Hello, Bill. Yeah, now I do. How are you, sir? Good. You sound like you just ran a mini marathon.
You know, when I walk up and down the stairs, I get tired now.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I've never been a marathon runner, but I know the feeling. I'm getting old along with you. Now, let me ask you a question. You remember, and great of you to join us again, and I hope we could get you back next week as well after you're the Grand Marshal at the marathon. But it was a year ago, on the 15th. When we had you on, and you had talked about, I believe, if I'm correct, if memory serves me right, your daughter was supposed to be at the finish line, or was in the finish line, and then moved away. And we've talked since then as well. Looking back and looking ahead to the next few days, what's going through your mind right now?
It's going to be incredible. Boston is always good. As are all marathons in New York City, the great marathons, New York City, Chicago, and around the world, but Boston being the granddaddy, and after the tough time, last year, and but I think everything is how you respond. everything. And I've heard others say that, and I believe it completely 100%. And that's how athletes think all the time. And so I just think it's going to be a wonderful Boston every way, because more people, I think, understand what the marathon is kind of like or about, and why it's really the sport that where there's an open door, the finish line is there, and the starting line is there for everyone that wants to try it. And it's, to me, it sounds like a corny thing. It's like from the 1950s, but it's really like one of the ultimate celebrations, and I think that's why running is getting so much bigger. But Boston this year, everyone is coming in that I know of, people from around the country and around the world. It is a celebration of life in a nutshell, and it was an irony, because here in the kind of safest sport or activity in the world, the safest place to be in the world would be at a marathon, because everyone kind of shakes hands. You know what I mean, Steve? And we get to the finish line and nothing matters. It doesn't matter your income, your race, religion, none of these things that kind of separate us a lot of times. And so it's kind of that great struggle in the world, and amongst all of us that sometimes we get trapped in. And but everything changes on race day. And everyone knows that now. I think everyone knows that. And so I think that was part of the story from last year, is that now we understand this more and more. And so I'm excited to be in the lead car and have a chance to, I couldn't run it. I wanted to run it. I trained this year and all through the winter, kind of crazy. I call it hobble running, Steve, because I got a hamstring injury in January. But a lot of my friends are running, and this sport is really about your family and your friends, and it's got everything to it. It's really a great sport, and for the media, for you people in the media, and for the fans and people who are listening, everyone knows someone who's running these days, so that's the big difference, I think.
Yeah, Bill, last year, right in the day it was happening, I mean, you talked about how, next year we would be back better than ever. When, Boston will never be intimidated, and you were right. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but you were right. But are you concerned from a security standpoint? There have been enhancements, but you had some moron leaving two backpacks, or two people. One of them, I guess, was a reporter who inadvertently left a bag there, but someone else left a bag with a pressure cooker.
No.
I mean, does that concern
Steve,
you?
Not at all. Not at all. Steve, athletes live a certain way, and there's that slogan. I don't know who created it, but it's very meaningful, and it says, what is it? Have no fear.
Yeah, have no fear. Yeah.
That's it, and that's the way that I want to live, and I think that's the way we live in America, and I think that's one of our great strengths. And yes, there was a hit against us, but our greatest strength is how we respond. And when you show the world, as a democracy and the good things about this country, when you have that, and it's exemplified in events like this, where I was reading today in the paper about a guy, he was an Islamic guy, and he was worried about, that political issue and everything, and he ran last year, but he's going to run again this year, and so there's these fears, these separations that all peoples have between us. I think more and more the world's coming together. I think running is a sport that brings the world together, and we're going to see that in Boston. That's what it is.
What's it going to be like? So describe exactly what you're going to do. Grand Marshal, lead car. Explain what that's like. You're going to be in the lead car for the whole race, correct?
Yeah, Steve, the BAA, the Boston Athletic Association, they contacted me, and what are you doing race day? And we'd like you to be in the lead car. And I guess they put my name in the car or something.
Great, that's great. Maybe you could take the car home afterward.
I would like that. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's just it's kind of like an honor. You're leading 36,000 people from around the world, everyone in America, the marathoners, the runners, the new runners. That's the change today. All these new runners. There's some of the older folks still. A lot of them are out there, and they love the marathon too. But everywhere I go, I see people wearing this jacket, and Boston Marathon, because it's kind of like the Olympics, because you have to qualify. And but there's this unifying spirit that nothing can stop that. This is a global sport. This is global. And so that impact and feeling, I think it's going to be a global media event. I hope so we can kind of show that this sport is kind of sport that brings the world together.
Right, and
that's what people want.
And this is a message.
The whole world wants
do you see this? Do you see the successful running of the marathon coming up next week? Do you see that as what does that say to terrorists, would-be terrorists all over the world?
I just think that they're kind of living in a kind of a crazy, horrible place. And I think, I'm one of these dudes who I'd say, I'd like to get, I know it's a Pollyannish sort of thing.
Go ahead.
Living in a dream world, hey, get the world leaders together, get all the religious leaders together of the world. Let's do something that's better than the struggles that sometimes happen. And that's the way I think most of the world thinks, and that's what we want. And so that's why I think, they had a day of remembrance here in Boston. And I think this sport is the whole world sport. We've got the oldest here in Boston. In New York City, you've got the biggest marathon and one of the greatest marathons on the planet too. So we can do great things here in America through sports, simple stuff, one foot in front of the other. What does it mean? It's like meaningless almost, But when you take a look at it in a lot of ways, Steve, and I think you're going to have a lot of guests, on your show in the days ahead, and maybe people who've run it or have run New York, they know what it means. Fred LeBeau knew what it means, That's why the New York City Marathon is what it is today.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you, Bill, before I let you go. Your as we mentioned, your daughter. You were concerned about her at the beginning, and then I mentioned we had Lee Sweel of Fox News on after you on that day, and she was in tears because she had just made contact with her son, who was also supposed to be at the finish line, but he never went. Is your daughter going to be watching at the finish line? Is she going to be in the car with you? I mean, I don't want to give personal details away, but you have no qualms about that at all?
Actually, every year she comes to Boston because actually today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Lee!
Hey, mine is on Sunday. So we're and
cool.
my producer, my senior producer, Rich, is his birthday today too. So we got a lot of birthdays going on.
Cake. We get to have cake. And I love that. That's the way runners are always thinking. We want to have that cake.
Well, I know you like pasta before a race. I didn't know you did the cake thing. Hey, listen, Bill, great to talk to you. I hope we'll try to set it up over the weekend. I hope right after you do this on Monday, you could come on with us after the fact on Monday and talk about it. But great talking to you again, folks. The book is Marathon Man. It's been out a year now. Check it out if you haven't read it yet, and we'll speak to you soon, sir. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Steve. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, and to your daughter. To your daughter, too. All right, Bill Rodgers, the great, the one, the only. Bill Rodgers, ladies and gentlemen. He will be the Grand Marshal in the lead car at the Boston Marathon, and we're all looking forward to that, and we're all looking forward to sending a message that we and the city of Boston specifically cannot be intimidated. When we come back, we're going to talk to a congressman, and you're not going to want to miss this interview, I promise you, on the Steve Malzberg Show.
We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.